What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto fused with the Mind Stone in Marvel, the end. Now, let's begin. Ava Star's logs and the digital record on her credit card indicated that she was currently enjoying a brief hiatus from assignments and was returning from grocery shopping. I entered her apartment and took a seat in a discreet corner, adjusting the lighting slightly to create a more subdued atmosphere by minimizing the excess light coming my way. The doors were unlocked, and she entered with quick steps, clearly eager. However, as soon as I perceived that she was about to change her clothes, I chose to initiate a conversation. This android is not designed for inappropriate scenarios, unfortunately. Ava Star. It was certainly not the reaction I had anticipated, considering she was presently holding a gun to my head while wielding a knife in her other hand. "Could you please identify yourself?" she inquired as she gradually activated the lights to brighten the entire room, maintaining her gaze without a single blink. "Is this not how I arrived here?" I inquired while crossing one leg over the other. Why not approach her in a straightforward manner? I made that decision based on my personal inclination. "You have already gained access, and it is also straightforward to unlock." She responded with composure, her fingers poised just a slight distance from activating the firearm in her grasp. "I will not reiterate. May I inquire who you are and what your intentions are regarding me?" I provided a direct response and offered a concise explanation of my purpose for being here. "My name is Naruto. I am a member of the Avengers and I will be concise. I understand that S.H.I.E.L.D. has not been transparent in fulfilling their commitment to assist, and that is precisely the support I aim to provide." She regarded me with a completely neutral expression for several seconds before responding. "What strategies will you employ to achieve success in areas where S.H.I.E.L.D. has been less transparent?" "Unlike others, I have a manageable workload and will not provide excuses for an extended period. Additionally, I believe it is unnecessary to persuade you of your value to them." I presented the information clearly and provided her with the opportunity to make a decision. "What benefits do you anticipate from this? Would you like me to take on a role with your organization instead of S.H.I.E.L.D. to eliminate for you?" she stated while advancing a few steps, her body resonating through various states as she moved. "Data. I require a substantial amount of data from you, and to clarify, I do not wish for you to undertake any work on my behalf. I will continue to assist you as per my commitment, but any subsequent actions are entirely your responsibility." I provided her with a response. The scientists of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Bill Foster were unaware of their objectives, which hindered their ability to assist her in achieving her goals. However, Foster effectively slowed her molecular deterioration without his intervention. She would have faced significant challenges long ago. "What makes me the ideal candidate? I believe it is possible that you may have discovered one or two individuals with the capability to walk through walls. What distinguishes me for this opportunity?" At that moment, she stood just a few feet away from me, likely unafraid due to her confidence in her capabilities. "What makes you the ideal candidate?" "Straightforward. I am uncertain who else has experienced a quantum wave that has caused their molecular structure to become as disordered as yours." This was the rationale behind my need for her assistance. I could have opted to reduce myself to a subatomic level, but if there was even a 2% chance of enhancing my understanding of the elusive realm, I would pursue it. "Who indicated that Kang's presence was the sole aspect I was wary of during a quantum dive?" I am uncertain about the types of organisms and viruses present, so I am focusing all my efforts on enhancing my likelihood of a successful quantum dive. "What is your level of confidence in assisting me with finding a cure?" she inquired. "Urgent. 100%. That or I am 1 or 2% off," I stated with assurance. Addressing her condition posed no challenges. My interest lay in the intriguing manner in which she displayed her quantum properties. Individuals such as myself or Kitty Pryde experience a seamless molecular deconstruction when utilizing our abilities. However, this can be perceived as a misleading form of quantum shifting, given that the quantum realm itself is characterized as a chaotic void space. If she enters the quantum realm, will she be able to navigate it effectively by establishing a connection, provided she can protect her consciousness? I am seeking practical answers to these types of questions. Regarding my departure from S.H.I.E.L.D., you need not be concerned as I will handle the situation on my end. What are your thoughts? Do you have confidence in this decision? Ava inquired as I guided her into an expanded capsule that I had modified to analyze her molecular fluctuations and assess the extent to which her molecules deviated from their natural physical composition. Affirmative. Please endure the situation, if you could. It is clear that she agreed, as this opportunity has been sought after for over a decade, during which she has endured significant pain associated with her deteriorating condition. Regarding my approach to her treatment, I will need to employ a strategy reminiscent of Shang Tsung's methods. I activated the machine and initiated the download of data from each fractional second sequence that her molecules experienced. Wavelengths. Ava Star is experiencing a conflict within her biological makeup, caught between two distinct vibrating frequencies. The influence of subatomic space is overriding the physical laws of Earth, resulting in a disruptive effect on her, leading to a painful disintegration. The current energy reading indicates that she has no control over it except for a forceful shutdown. Synchronizing your energy absorption, electromagnetic manipulation, and quantum shifting abilities will enable you to effectively harness the abundant chaotic quantum energy that she possesses. Certainly, it encompasses all wavelengths. All entities, both material and immaterial, resonate at their unique frequencies. By aligning your own frequency with that of another, you can attain a comparable state to that of the object in question. The vastness of the various levels within the quantum realm inherently suggests an extensive range of frequencies, given its formless nature, absence of a defined state, and the unrestricted influence of physical laws. Ava was resonating at a frequency that, without careful consideration, could lead to her becoming integrated into every existing reality, transcending her current existence within the quantum realm. She had the ability to traverse any location, at any moment, in any condition, to any facet or dimension of the countless universes linked to the quantum realm. She is a remarkable entity, embodying the essence of a quantum boom tube, equipped with a theoretically multiversal built-in map. The sole drawback regarding her is that she lacks the mental capacity to process all those spatial coordinates. She is more likely to dissipate entirely than to acknowledge even one spatial coordinate. I opened the hatch of the capsule and caught her body to prevent a fall, feeling a sense of empathy as I recognized the pain she experienced while struggling for air. Could you please confirm if you obtained what you were seeking? The expression in her eyes indicated that she was resolute in her stance. I believe I have received more than I initially anticipated. I stated with a smile while assisting her to her feet. What is your perspective? This indicates that it is time for me to uphold my part of the agreement, which presents two options, the first being that I will assist you in refining your ability for easier control, while the second option involves the permanent removal of that ability. I proposed, but she did not take a moment to consider it and promptly made her decision. Remove everything. I issued a mental command to initiate the process. All excess energy influx is being rerouted to the Mind Stone. Integrating energy absorption, electromagnetic manipulation, and quantum shifting capabilities cohesively. The temporary integration of the three abilities has resulted in the emergence of a new capability: quantum siphoning. Ava expressed her distress as I combined my quantum property energy with hers and began to extract the plentiful quantum energy she was experiencing. To her, it likely felt akin to tearing open a wound that had been scabbed over for more than a decade. For the first time in a long while, I experienced a headache from the overwhelming sensations, even though the Mind Stone was absorbing everything else that I was unable to manage independently. The situation persisted for some time before ultimately calming down, culminating in the sight of a sweaty, heaving, and disoriented Ava before me. I apologize for that. I expressed my apologies for the discomfort she was experiencing as I sensed her teetering on the brink of losing consciousness. I assure you that you will feel better upon waking. I positioned her on a bed and administered some drips before proceeding to the other end of my workspace. Are we prepared to proceed? Understood. Proceed with quantum shifting. Please proceed. My experience, if it can be referred to as such, in the quantum realm was brief, pun intended. I needed to replay it consistently in my mind to provide a thorough analytical review of everything I observed. In contrast to Ant-Man's suit, my ability did not allow for a gradual decrease in size, rather, it resembled a steep decline, as I continued downward until I reached the lowest point. Where am I? The location I arrived at after a period of reduction, whether extended or brief, appeared to be a blend of various seasonal cycles. It appeared quite surreal. The darkness was akin to a starless night, yet my vision remained clear, even in the absence of assistance. The principles of physics were notably sidelined upon arrival here. Could you please inform me of the duration of our stay here? Unfavorable. It appears that each distinct point within the quantum realm operates under its own unique time cycle. It would be more effective to calculate time based on the individual rather than the chronological progression of this dimension. That is unfortunate. I maintained a stopwatch to monitor the time before proceeding to fly in an arbitrary direction to assess any potential findings. I cannot determine the exact duration, but I experienced a sudden realization that this place possessed a vibrant energy. It was merely an intuition, yet it certainly seemed to be the case until I utilized the Mind Stone to verify the accuracy of my assumption. To my surprise, it did not provide any useful information, as it could not definitively ascertain whether the entire realm possessed sentience. I trust that will not be the case. I came here not just to tackle quantum travel and create a global teleportation network, or maybe even jump between universes, but also to see if I can track down Hank's wife. I was sending out a signal just like the one from the Ant-Man suit to see if anything could catch it, hoping to backtrack and find a direction, but so far, no luck. I stopped worrying about the time I had spent here and dove into learning everything I could about the quantum realm since it seemed like a connection to all the other universes out there. I was busy pulling up one sequence after another, trying to figure out how to power up a portal from the quantum realm to anywhere in my universe. But after yet another round of failures, I suddenly sensed something big coming my way. It's just way too huge. It was this weird, rocky, fleshy, vibrating thing that looked like it was born from a mix between a scorpion and a praying mantis. That's when it hit me. Might have shrunk down even more than I realized, and I was smaller than I ever thought possible. It was kind of strange, but it really felt like it was coming for me. Even though it didn't have any eyes, antennas, or anything I could recognize as a sensory organ, it still paused and turned toward me. Then it made this awful, grating sound that just got under my skin, so I ended up blasting it to bits, quantum dust or whatever. Do you think it was following me because of the frequency? I just went ahead and turned off the signal without giving it much thought. Have I been sharing my location since I walked in here? I'll think about that later. I took off toward where that thing came from because it's the only hint of direction I've had since I arrived here. I encountered a few more things, some just gliding right through anything in their path, all heading straight for me. I didn't really try to hide from them because I was curious about where they were coming from, so I just charged right through those poor folks. It was pretty fascinating to see that some of them actually blended into the ground a bit after they were killed. You don't come across that every day. How on earth are these things sensing me from wherever they keep coming from? I asked nobody in particular, and that just made my frustration grow even more. So, if we think about it in terms of Earth's time cycle, I've definitely been tracking their trail for more than a day and a half. Yet, I still can't figure out where they're coming from, how they got here, or why they would target someone from such a crazy distance. I got really frustrated and just started hitting my triggers every time I saw them pop up on the endless horizon. Have you figured anything out about these little guys yet? Not great. It seems like the biological signature suggests they aren't alive, but that just doesn't sit right. It feels like we really don't grasp much about the quantum realm since its rules are so different from what we know in human science. What's the deal with the fusers? So, we can totally classify them as energy-type organisms, right? I strolled over to one of the carcasses that had sunk halfway into the ground and lifted my hand above it. It throbbed for a moment before it began to break apart and dissolve into this dark energy cloud, which then got quickly pulled into my body. Oh, so that's what quantum siphoning is all about. I'm curious about what I can do with it. I can already quantum shift, and since the former is seen as a completely different ability rather than just a part of the latter, it opens up another area of application that I haven't begun to explore yet. Can you point out any new features that came along when I absorbed that? Even with all my knowledge and computing power, figuring out something without any data or information is pretty much impossible unless you're Reed Richards or one of his warlord descendants, of course. I'm really fortunate because I can breeze through a lot of the steps involved in analyzing and processing data and information. How about we give this a shot? The Mind Stone floated above my hands as I got ready to do something that could be seen as either really dumb or just totally crazy, depending on who you ask. Rather than just siphoning quantum matter for energy or shrinking down to smaller quantum levels, I combined two concepts: quantum shifting and quantum siphoning. This involved reducing distance and absorbing the quantum energy that exists between those tiny subatomic spaces, allowing them to interact with each other. The outcome was like a constant swirl of ever-shrinking subatomic distances, all happening within the quantum energy that was guiding it. Alright, let's give this a shot. I took a deep breath and let the Mind Stone get pulled in, really zeroing in on the connection between us. I just kept waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. Well, nothing happened. Absolutely. Even though I was feeling a bit overwhelmed by it all, being completely connected to it really made everything fall into place. I can tap into that power or energy anytime I want, without any delay, because I'm linked to it on a quantum level. Fingers crossed it all goes smoothly if I ever find myself stuck in another universe. Now that I figured that out, a bunch of my worries faded away. So, using those two abilities, I wrapped myself in the same fog and then zoomed ahead. But instead of racing at thousands of miles per hour, I actually teleported. I'm really going to enjoy this. So, there I was, constantly teleporting, which I eventually figured out was just this subatomic diffusion thing. It was all about me hiding or wrapping myself in quantum energy, letting it seep through, and then popping back up wherever it decided to go. I'm not sure I can handle this here, but I'll get it sorted out really soon. As I tried out teleportation for the first time, I quickly noticed a mix of different organisms that were thousands of miles away from me. Are you serious right now? So, this isn't at all what I was hoping for. I mean, I picked up on something that felt really alive and aware, but it turns out it's not the quantum knots. Looks like I'm on my way to the rebellion's base instead. Am I really up for dealing with Kong? No way. I really want to steer clear of that guy if I can. It just seems like anything that brings me close to him leads to a whole lot of trouble down the line. Being a hero is really tough. I complained about wanting to save Janet because I felt like I took away Hank's chance to get his wife back. It's no surprise that heroes seem to attract trouble, right? I couldn't help but stick my nose into something that wasn't really my place to be. Finding Janet was a breeze since she was the only person around and exactly who I was searching for. I turned invisible and quickly slipped into their hideout. Then, I wrapped myself in quantum energy for a quick teleport that brought me right to her side. Before she even had a chance to react, I whisked her away, teleporting us thousands of miles from the base in just a few jumps. Awesome, now I'm taking her away. Unfortunately, my thoughts got interrupted when she tapped something that made me pull away from her. Hey, no worries. If I really wanted to hurt you, I wouldn't have gone through the trouble of bringing you all the way out here. I need to break this down a bit. Wait, you're actually a human. The old woman let out a surprised scream when I revealed who I was, and I honestly thought she might be really skeptical. Yeah, sort of. I mentioned, sitting in the empty air with both legs crossed, wondering about the space around me. I guess I owe your husband a favor, so I thought I'd take the chance to get you out while I'm here. So, that pretty much sums it up. Now that the Mind Stone is safely tucked away, I feel a lot more at ease about the possibility of someone being able to nullify its powers. She was just about to say something, but then I could see the regret and uncertainty on her face. Inside, I was already dreading whatever plan she was forming in her mind. Hey, can I ask you for a quick favor? She asked. It really depends. What's that all about? She took some deep breaths to help herself relax. I really want to help them out. Her voice was so convincing this time, and that's when it hit Methus is where everything went off track. The time inside and outside felt like they were always shifting in different directions. So instead of the Janet Van Dyne who would have easily left when it was time to go, this one seemed like she was still fully engaged in supporting their fight against Kong. Clearly, this isn't a great outcome at all. Why would you choose to fight a rebellion instead of taking the opportunity to see your family right now? I'd do anything to see my family again, but I really need to fix what I helped start. She chuckled at herself before diving into the whole Kong fiasco, which just backed up what I already thought. I really want to do everything I can to help them out. Feel free to correct me if I'm mistaken. So, you mentioned that you took out the core he needed, right? So, he can't really leave the quantum realm now. No point in rubbing it in his face, huh? She let out a sarcastic laugh, fully aware that Kong had it coming for all the bad things that were bound to happen to him. I let out a sigh when I saw how determined she was in her decision, and it just made that knot in my stomach twist even tighter. So, you know how I mentioned that being a hero is tough because they often get involved in stuff that really isn't their business? Well, it looks like Janet Van Dyne is dealing with that kind of exposure too. So, that's how she ended up here in the first place. What about me? Easy peasy. It's really just about the ups and downs. I'm not really sure what's going on with the Kangs, but I definitely don't want my timeline wiped out. It's like mini but actually bigger Thanos is this vengeful jerk, and when he breaks free in the future, he's going to hunt down Janet's timeline and make her pay for double-crossing him. I'm really careful about going up against Kang because of all his advanced tech, which is way beyond what I've got. So, energy manipulation, huh? That guy really knows what he's doing. Let's proceed to conclude this matter efficiently. I observed the smiling woman and gestured for her to come closer before speaking softly under my breath. It would have been beneficial to include Wanda and Pietro. Upon our arrival at the base, the personnel were promptly informed, resulting in our being encircled. However, Janet effectively managed to soothe the situation, allowing her explanations to be heard. There appeared to be significant distrust towards humans, which is understandable given Kang's actions against them and their environment. Although I comprehended their messages and could discern their intentions, recognizing when they were insulting me or questioning my trustworthiness, I chose to remain silent and allowed them to express themselves freely. From an external perspective, their actions can be seen as justified, given that Kang did indeed cause significant harm and displacement. Naruto, I would like to introduce you to Kryler, Gentara, and Guaz. I had no comments to contribute, so I simply nodded in acknowledgement. The remaining individuals exited, leaving just the four of us in the room, with Gentara being the first to pose a question. What motivated you to assist us? There appears to be no obligation for you to assist us, so what is your motivation? I expressed my frustration at the question and preemptively halted any inquiries before they could be posed. My presence here is solely due to the grandmother seated over there. That concludes the matter. I will assist you in addressing the situation with Kang to the best of my ability, though I cannot guarantee the extent of my support. Kryler scoffed at my remarks, likely irritated by the casual tone I adopted. What is your strategy for addressing the situation with Kang? If Kang were truly that straightforward to manage, we would have addressed the situation long ago. That is an aspect beyond my control. I recommend that you expedite any preparations you have underway. What strategies can we employ to overcome the barriers? Additionally, there are hundreds of thousands of foot soldiers available at his command. Gentara stated through clenched teeth, directing a fierce glare towards me. Do you believe you have the capability to confront Kang? Do not underestimate your value, individual. With that, she departed, swiftly followed by Guaz and then Kryler, who paused to glance at Janet for a brief moment before leaving the room, ultimately leaving just Janet and me behind. They are correct, you understand. Janet regarded me, and for the first time, I genuinely sensed her pain. Kang is exceptionally powerful. Ever since he rebuilt his armor, he just destroyed everyone who tried to stand in his way. If you are concerned, I can return and gather additional personnel to assist in the effort. I made a suggestion, but she declined with a shake of her head. It is uncertain how much time may have elapsed by that point. Indeed. Tracking time in the quantum realm appears to be an impossible task for anyone. Additionally, it is important to consider that an indeterminate number of years may have elapsed on Earth by the time of my arrival. This underscores the necessity of acquiring the skills to navigate the time-space stream that traverses a particular segment of the quantum realm. We will utilize the resources available to us at this time. That was the sole option available to us if we aim to engage in the fight. The likelihood of losing is quite significant, I indicated with a gesture above my head, prompting her to emit a brief, dry chuckle. If you are so enthusiastic about fighting, I assume that you possess strong fighting skills. I remain uncertain about your capabilities. Her words faded as the entire room ascended, including herself, surrounded by dancing lightning and light constructs. There is no need for concern. I am confident in my ability to contribute effectively when necessary. I stated and caused everything to vanish with a simple snap of my fingers. Regarding overcoming the barriers, I believe I may have a solution. What are your thoughts on this? Would you like to attempt it again? This is undoubtedly the most extraordinary experience I have ever undertaken. I remarked while concealed within a quantum pocket, with the remarkable technological city of Axia beneath me. Utilizing a substantial amount of energy from the Mind Stone, I began employing my density manipulation to maximize my weight and subsequently expanded my size through quantum shifting, thereby augmenting my mass. Attempting to devise a strategy concerning Kang proved ineffective, so we opted for the only available option, a surprise attack. One Kang certainly did not include in his calculations. Despite the energy coursing through my body, I determined it was insufficient and employed my electromagnetic manipulation to enhance my magnetic pull towards the ground. At that moment, it appeared as though a sun was illuminating a very dark room, and without hesitation, the sky parted, allowing a colossal human figure to descend directly above the city of Axia. A magnetic field is being established to counteract the force you are currently exerting, which has the potential to devastate the city. Please take a moment to observe that. All attempts to breach the city's defenses have proven unsuccessful. That is the primary control center of Kang's empire. It is logical that he will ensure it is well protected. As I approached the dome that had already been established and enveloped more than 2/3 of the city, I couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Just before my body made contact with the dome, I vanished once more and teleported beyond the barriers, descending through a rapidly diminishing 2 kilometers for several seconds until silence enveloped me upon impact with the ground. An explosive force was unleashed as I let go of all that I had been holding back upon making contact with the ground. Perspective of Kang the Conqueror. He observed as the city he had constructed from the foundation, among countless others, ascended in the intense columns of a mushroom cloud. For a brief moment, Kang remained immobilized as the shockwaves impacted his palace, triggering alarms throughout this section of the city, particularly in the buildings that had managed to endure the sudden turmoil. Determine the underlying reason. He ultimately addressed the nearby quantum knots, advanced android sentinels that were under his command. He observed the sequential frames of the individual responsible for the explosion, rather than the energy bomb he had initially believed to be the source. The energy readings, while exhibiting slight variations, demonstrate a 91 similarity to the bioorganic synthezoid identified as Naruto when analyzed through the database. The Avengers. Kang reacted with frustration upon realizing the identity of the perpetrator and the probable motive behind the attack. Conduct a comprehensive scan of Axia to identify the presence of additional Avengers members. Only the identified Naruto is present in the vicinity of Axia. No other member of the Avengers is nearby. Is it just that basic machine and the ants that are in revolt? The irritation on his face dissipated, giving rise to a composed tranquility. I believe it is essential to take decisive action to permanently eliminate these bothersome insects. I believe I can identify 1 or 2 applications for an Infinity Stone. Purple armor pauldrons manifested over his shoulders, and in the next instant, he vanished, focused solely on a singular objective. To illustrate the fear instilled by the Conqueror. Naruto's perspective. As I emerged from the expansive void of my ground zero, it took me a few moments to dispel the disorientation that was swirling within my mind. This was the first instance in which I produced such a significant level of destructive output since assuming the role of Naruto. I must express that the sensation I experienced upon regaining my composure was akin to a profound sense of relief. It was exceptionally gratifying. I must express my surprise at encountering individuals of your kind during my time here. I was not at all surprised when I turned around to see the iconic character Kang the Conqueror standing behind me, arms held loosely behind him. Additionally, I noted that he was not providing any information. Not even when he emerged behind me. What can I express? Arriving at a later time is an integral aspect of the superhero role and its associated responsibilities. I remarked with a shrug as multiple notifications emerged in anticipation of the impending fight. You stand apart from the other visions I have encountered and eliminated. All necessary precautions and strategies for engagement are fully prepared and in place. This monologue is quite frustrating. Kang experienced a colossal fist enveloped in an electromagnetic barrier that struck him directly in the face, causing significant damage to the ground beneath us as he was propelled backward like a deflated balloon. I maintained a clear perspective regarding Kang's ability to sustain damage. I teleported to the location where he landed, prepared to execute a stomp, but I completely missed as he vanished. Subsequently, I was unexpectedly struck by an energy beam. What was that about? An unidentified type of energy. It is recommended to exercise caution, as there seems to be significant danger associated with contact. I understand your point without needing further clarification. The energy utilized by Kang was remarkably powerful, as I continued to experience lingering phantom pain even after the impact. Kang approached, his hands glowing with a blue energy, intent on unleashing it upon me. However, with a single command, I summoned the molten metals beneath us to create a protective barrier between us. I successfully analyzed their magnetic field to deflect any magnetic or electrical waves directed at them. However, Kang's beams disintegrated them effortlessly, as if they were composed of bubbles, compelling me to teleport away from the situation. You initiated an unprovoked attack. Do not hold it against me for seeking to eliminate your presence. I listened to Kang's presentation, but I found it unengaging. Reducing my size to a microscopic level did not diminish Kang's focus on me. I enveloped myself and, this time, materialized directly beneath him. He promptly responded to the incoming punch, attempting to evade it. However, he failed to anticipate the emergence of my enlarged hands from a smoky portal at his side, which struck him with a resounding impact. I was prepared to proceed with a follow-up but encountered an obstacle that hindered my progress. Before I could fully comprehend the situation, my vision became disoriented as a significant and painful impact struck my body. Alert! 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 What is occurring to me? Error notifications echoed in my mind as I compelled myself to rise, despite the intense sensation resembling metal grinding against metal within my body. I quickly maneuvered to avoid another shot from the beam. I arranged several magnetic fields in a pyramid configuration and struck them in quick succession, generating a wave of superimposed magnetic frequency directed at Kang, effectively annihilating all obstacles in its trajectory. I ascended into the air and emitted a broad laser beam from my eyes as a form of overcompensation. However, I found myself indifferent to such matters in moments like these. A brief observation of the city revealed the disorder occurring in every sector of Kang's utopia, as the rebels engaged in confrontation with the relentless onslaught of robots under Kang's command. I redirected my focus, channeling electricity throughout my body, which sparked with yellow and blue lightning, and then I lunged towards Kang, who appeared more frustrated than injured. That armor of his provides an unfair advantage. He charged at me, and we collided midair, creating a sonic boom that propelled us both backward. However, neither of us backed down as we quickly engaged again, exchanging punches, kicks, and energy blasts in an effort to gain the upper hand. Despite my superior physical strength and mobility compared to Kang, it was inconsequential, as he demonstrated remarkable durability, able to withstand nearly everything, including energy blasts. Attempting to don his armor proved to be a futile effort that yielded no constructive feedback. Overexposure has led to a swift degradation of molecular integrity. What is happening? Shouldn't my quantum shifting and molecular disintegration negate such an effect? The characteristics of Kang the Conqueror's energy remain unclear, and it is successfully circumventing all established defenses against such occurrences. This is quite frustrating. I quietly maneuvered to avoid the continuous barrage of beams he was directing at me. Using telekinesis, I enlarged one of the random body parts on the ground to over 300 meters and directed it towards Kang. I seized the opportunity presented when Kang broke through to teleport behind him and deliver a powerful backhand to his face, sending him crashing before he could adequately respond. I require a concentrated solution. Due to time constraints, I was unable to thoroughly evaluate the most prudent strategies against an opponent like Kang, who could reverse the situation in an instant. Consequently, I decided to employ a comprehensive approach, launching all possible tactics at him until something proved effective. Physical phenomena exhibit very low compatibility with quantumization. Therefore, it is presently unfeasible to integrate electromagnetism with quantum siphoning. Reassessing. Low compatibility exists between quantumization and physical attributes. Fusion is not feasible in scenarios involving density manipulation, telekinesis, technopathy, and molecular deconstruction. Please provide an alternative. I experienced a moment of intense realization as I descended further into the ground, only to pass through it as a structure collapsed into the area where I had landed. As I advanced towards Kang, I enveloped myself in a repelling field while simultaneously coating my hands in an attracting field. I delivered a punch aimed at Kang, but it was deftly intercepted by a reflective barrier that countered the properties of my hands. Reassessing, he attempted to grasp my cape, but his hand passed through it. In response, I quickly reached for his, only to realize that this was an ill-advised decision, as the instant I made contact, I was forcefully propelled backward by a surge of energy. Query has been resolved. High compatibility identified between form shift and quantumization. Fusion is achievable. I was unable to concentrate on the new notification as Kang executed a two-step left-right combination with an underkick that caused me to skid backwards. The energy emitted by Kang was causing significant distress to me on multiple levels. My inner thoughts were echoing in a disordered manner, significantly diminishing the effective organization of my mental processes. He attempted to close the distance by warping to my location, but I anticipated this move. As soon as he materialized before me, energy enveloping his fist, I seized him in a telekinetic grip and unleashed a barrage of electricity. Subsequently, I brought my hands together, morphing them into a colossal blaster reminiscent of a scene from a Transformers film, and struck him at point-blank range, engulfing the entire area in a blinding white light. The landscape surrounding us resembled a scene from a biblical Armageddon, characterized by fire and molten lava spanning the extensive area. The military forces engaged in combat nearby had either withdrawn or dispersed from our central location. I observed Kong, who appeared to be in a state of disarray, while something flickered around me, likely serving as a protective barrier against potential evaporation. This individual was more bothersome than anything else. The quantity of weapons he possessed for various scenarios was undeniably alarming. I must express my admiration and understandably upset that a single member of the Avengers had pushed me to this point. 12 discharged another energy blast at close range after teleporting a few meters away from him. I am not particularly concerned about your feelings. A surge of blue energy, forming a dome, propelled everything away from Kong. For the first time since encountering the enigmatic dictator, I sensed the overwhelming hate and contempt he harbored towards me. However, none of that impacted our ongoing confrontation. Is there anything significant regarding the outcome of quantumizing my form shift ability? What is a form shift? It can be confidently stated that, based on its interaction with the effects of quantumization, it adopts the characteristics of whatever it is working alongside. A fleeting thought crossed my mind as I observed Kong, whose telekinetic abilities were manifesting in a chaotic manner. What would the implications be if he had not been exiled? What would be the implications if he had access to all his technology? The resources available to him in the quantum realm were quite limited, and he lacked access to his time device unless I had been deceased multiple times. Activate fusion. Executing sequences adjusting the Mind Stone's influence on quantum siphoning. Molecular deconstruction has been impacted. The ability to shapeshift has been impacted. The manipulation of fundamental forces has been impacted. Fusion and assimilation are currently in progress. Attention given that we are currently situated in the quantum realm, it is essential to exercise a degree of caution to avoid any unexpected fusion with this environment. Should such an occurrence take place, it is highly likely that the connection with the Mind Stone will be severed. This is frustrating. The involuntary scream subsided, overwhelmed by the loud screeching sound reverberating within my mind. It felt as though all my limbs were being compressed into a paste, subsequently pulled apart, and then subjected to a shredding process, all while my mind remained aware of the experience. The potential for fusion with the quantum realm has significantly diminished as a result of the extensive connection established with the Mind Stone. Exercise caution remains advisable. Uninformed individual. Quantumization within the quantum realm poses significant risks to one's existence. I chose to disregard Kong in order to conduct a scan on my body. Although my appearance remained unchanged, the sensation I experienced was significantly different from just moments prior. No matter. This does not alter the outcome in any way. He propelled all the debris and metal components towards me, but I adeptly evaded them and seamlessly regained control as they passed by, redirecting them back to Kong. My movement this time was immediate, as though I had consistently been positioned before him. I delivered a powerful strike to his abdomen while harnessing the quantum energy within me. To my surprise, my hands made contact with Kang's armor rather than the force field he has been utilizing since the onset of the fight. That is quite surprising. I whistled as I began processing new information regarding my situation with each action I undertook. I felt as though I was embodying the essence of the environment around me. There were certainly numerous limitations, however, this was a starting point that I could work with. I consider myself fortunate for concealing the Mind Stone in a linked neutral subspace alongside the quantum space. The energy Kong was harnessing resembled Wanda's chaos magic in its ability to negate the Mind Stone's effect. However, his energy was distinctly more overwhelming. You have significantly impacted my life's work. Do you believe you can simply walk away in that manner? Kong stated in a displeased tone as he removed his cape. You will be a valuable addition to my collection, of that I can assure you. That would necessitate my demise if I comprehend the context of your statement, and that is an experience I am not inclined to pursue. I seem to have overlooked that. He chuckled in feigned amusement. Your sense of entitlement and perceived infallibility is quite remarkable. You are presenting an impressive image of yourself. I responded sharply. He did not respond to my comments and merely observed the vibrances around his arms, regarding me as someone who had embarrassed himself due to a lack of comprehension. Who do you believe will remain after all of this? He indicated the debris of the city that encircled us. I expressed indifference. I have scheduled appointments with individuals that I cannot afford to miss. It is indeed regrettable and quite distasteful. He muttered quietly and discharged 2 shots in my direction, but I had already established a quantum field around myself that was barely withstanding Kang's energy beams. I crafted an axe composed of lightning and launched it at Kang, compelling him to ease his grip. As soon as he provided me with a brief reprieve, I advanced with both hands amplified by quantum energy. He attempted to warp away, but I reached him first and delivered a punch, which he surprisingly managed to block. However, he was unable to defend against the second punch that landed on the opposite side of his face, providing a firm confirmation of my intent. I strategically positioned myself to intercept him whenever he attempted to move away, maintaining pressure in my offensive approach. There was an occasion when he attempted to strike me while I was within his reach. However, as the attack approached, it found no target, as I effectively dispersed into the air and reformed a few meters away. Kang was showing signs of fatigue, and it was evident to both of us. Initially, it is important to note that the technology he was developing to escape the quantum realm has largely been rendered inoperative, either due to our confrontation or actions taken by Janet. The only means for him to secure his freedom was to eliminate me and exploit the method I employed for his escape. Given that I was presently demonstrating the characteristics of this realm, it indicated that I could also exercise a limited degree of manipulation with great caution to avoid being drawn into it. A whirlpool began to form above us, accompanied by lightning strikes and an escalating magnetic pull as the whirlpool engulfed us. Before he could take any action to remove his obstacles, he was unexpectedly propelled into the air by a force from below. I positioned myself above him and executed a precise kick to his chin, propelling him back to his original position. However, my intentions were far from complete. As he descended, I seized his leg and forcefully brought him down with a resounding impact. Following this, I propelled him to the side, where I was poised with a large bat, which I swung down upon him, driving him firmly into the ground. The entire area erupted in a blue explosion from Kang, but I had already moved clear of the blast zone. In the next moment, as the explosion subsided, I joined my hands together and struck Kang's back, causing him to cough up significant amounts of blood. I seized him by the collar and, without hesitation, infused my quantum energy into his body for a brief moment before phasing him out of his suit, ensuring he experienced a temporal imbalance prior to his suit assisting him in rectifying it. Without his armor, Kang was merely a highly skilled combatant possessing knowledge of the future. Even after it became abundantly clear that he was the most, he did not appear particularly affected. "What are your thoughts on the next steps?" he inquired with a challenging gaze. "You will die," I stated. "Are you prepared to face the repercussions of taking my life? Are you certain that I will die?" I raised an eyebrow at him, recalling that certain Kangs have the capability to download their memories into other Kangs, thereby exerting control over their bodies and achieving a form of immortality, albeit in a limited sense. "I will accept the consequences that follow." He attempted to shift, but I restrained him and channeled a wave of energy within his body that gradually initiated his disintegration. I felt a strong inclination to explore his memories and extract all that I could, yet something restrained me. I currently lack the necessary strength. I am unfamiliar with the capabilities of the Council of Kangs, and their manipulation of the reality stream within the multiverse serves as a significant deterrent. If they were to become aware in any capacity, especially since they will undoubtedly realize that this individual is deceased, that I extracted his memories, I assure you, I would not survive the consequences before I return to Earth. There are Kangs capable of perceiving through the perspectives of other Kangs, so I will not take that risk. Moreover, Kang memories are not the sole method for enhancing one's strength. However, I am securing his armor. Upon Kang's demise, I teleported to the location of the sole human presence I sensed and materialized directly in front of Janet, causing the elderly woman to startle with a frightened gasp. "Naruto. Are you feeling well?" "Indeed. It feels somewhat congested, in my opinion," I remarked as I observed the other individuals surrounding her unusual extraterrestrial beings. "Could we consider he has passed away?" "Are you, he has departed, Janet? Reduced to particles." I indicated that I would be terminating the conversation. "If that is everything, we should proceed to leave this location." I feel that I have reached a satisfactory conclusion to my quantum explorations for now. I aim to maximize my time here, as I am concerned about the duration of my stay. Before she or anyone could articulate further, I enveloped her in a magnetic field and promptly initiated my quantum shifting, resulting in our immediate departure. Space contracted and resonated momentarily before ejecting 2 individuals. One remained within a protective field, while the other descended abruptly to the ground following the ejection. The form shift should have been disabled prior to the activation of quantum shifting. He expressed his discomfort while massaging his head to alleviate the intense headache he was experiencing. As Janet processed her unexpected return to the human world, Naruto swiftly approached the monitor to verify the time and date, exhaling in relief upon discovering that his absence had only lasted 2 hours. Did I traverse the closest time stream due to my quantum form shift? It represents the closest approximation to a reciprocal relationship I possess with the quantum realm, after all. He contemplated. He deactivated the barrier surrounding Janet and proceeded to check on Ava, discovering that she remained in a deep sleep. I assume you would like to visit your family, he stated while addressing the other attendees in the room. I would be pleased to, however, could you please provide the duration? She inquired with a trembling voice, apprehensive about the potential implications of the response. 28 years. Naruto spoke crisply. It's not exactly a good track record, but hey, at least they are still waiting for you. She hadn't even met them yet and was already in mental pain. The same lady who wanted to oppose Kong was now shivering with intense anxiety at the prospect of meeting the family she had been isolated from for over 3 decades. Without saying anything further, Naruto wrapped her in a protective film and flew out the window, returning the original wasp to the Pims. After what could only be described as a heartbreaking, bittersweet emotional episode that would put any reality TV show or K-drama to shame with their poor performance, Naruto was finally able to detangle himself from the Pim household's honest yet gratuitous atmosphere and immediately took his leave before someone else drew him in for another hug. The Technopath signal you tagged recorded some moves and was last traced to be somewhere in Manhattan. Seriously? Not even a nap? Naruto let out an annoyed sigh and evaluated the material before choosing to investigate. He left the compound in less than 5 minutes after returning, heading in the direction of the last ping. He would acknowledge that the whole situation with Kong had him on edge even before he entered the quantum realm, but he ended up slaying Kong the Conqueror, which was certain to put him up against some absurdly strong gang. Had been playing it safe for a while, waiting for anything to happen before taking action, always reacting and responding passively. What was the government, or even some rowdy scheming mutants, in comparison to the Kong he had just faced? Break his fragile firewall. With a mental command, his technopathic conscience breached the firewalls and security measures the Technopath had put in place for their system network. They attempted to aggressively lock me out of the system or even isolate my movement, but everything they did was funny to me since it was like telling a fish not to swim inside a section of the river you had designated as your own, absolutely futile. A lanky man with a low fade cut was seated in front of a monitor playing a computer game when alarms began blasting across the room, causing him to exit the game and hack away at his keyboards. His face paled almost instantly as he began to get a slew of messages and cautions about his network being hacked at an alarming rate. "We're having an attack," he yelled to attract the attention of the others buried in this base, his teeth clattering against their countless siblings as he witnessed the entire monolith of knowledge he had spent years creating being speared repeatedly with pinpoint accuracy. While the others in the base were debating how to respond to such an attack, he placed his hands on the screen of his monitor, closed his eyes, and delved into the digital world, a lovely realm of zeros and ones. But suddenly that magnificent digital wonder was nothing more than a nightmare for him, as he witnessed a yellow code he couldn't decipher, relentlessly ripping away his life's work. The leader is going to murder me. He made an intelligent calculation, and terror grabbed his frail heart twice, urging him on to attempt to decelerate the alien code. In the digital realm, he felt like a god, since he had the freedom to do whatever he wanted. The moment he attacked the machine code, he found his motions confined, which was the pinnacle of impossible in the digital realm. He almost shouted in terror when he realized the programming was also attempting to hack him. He used everything he had to get himself out of that dead void before he was consumed. Without realizing he had seriously traumatized someone, he mentally continued to break through everyone and anything in his path until the whole Brotherhood network was left naked in front of him, but he did not have the chance to pass through as he neared the location from whence the signal was received. Without regard for politeness or light conversation, he smashed through the roof and the following 3 levels before landing within a room full of panicked mutants, some of whom were only a choice away from baring their teeth. He explored the entire facility but couldn't find Magneto, whom he intended to face, but it didn't matter too much. "Who are you?" someone yelled, but Naruto ignored him as his eyes scanned everyone and cross-referenced them with the information he had just obtained from their network. "Hey, you deaf or what?" One guy approached him with a belligerent expression on his face, prompting Naruto to recognize him as someone capable of quickly creating clones of himself. Following a forced mental shutdown, the men known as the Multiple Men, or Jamie Madrid, collapsed to the ground like a puppet freed from its chains. That instantly sparked a fire in all of their minds, as they no longer cared who the stranger was and attacked him, only for Naruto to start hurling them around like teddy dolls in a pillow fight, stopping only short of killing or badly injuring them. As he was about to strike another one, he nimbly jumped to the side, only for someone to slam into where he had been. The youngster was completely black, as if devoid of all light, while sun flares swirled over his body. "Sunspot. Who do you think you are?" Roberto da Costa's statement was abruptly interrupted as he experienced a constriction in his windpipe, a firm hand gripping his throat and forcefully ejecting him from the building in a manner consistent with his initial entry. He detected the presence of approaching mutants from outside the building, likely reinforcements, or perhaps they were on a mission. "I have attended to everyone present, fully aware of the underlying reasons for their attendance today." If someone were to inquire whether Naruto harbors animosity towards the Brotherhood of Mutants, his response would undoubtedly be affirmative, as they appear increasingly indifferent to the broader community and more focused on their own interests. Attempting to execute a terrorist act is not a matter to be taken lightly. Upon landing, he observed 2 individuals approaching the hideout. They halted momentarily upon noticing him, but quickly resumed their advance with increased determination. Sunspot was absent, having been propelled far away by Naruto's punch, leaving Naruto to face 2 mutants, one capable of emitting shockwaves and the other able to transform his limbs into elongated electric whips. The initial individual to engage was the one wielding the whip, who attempted to restrain Naruto. This proved to be a significant error, as Naruto swiftly countered by pulling him forward and delivering a decisive blow with the back of his hand, incapacitating him in a single strike. The individual possessing the shockwave ability halted his advance and retreated to create distance, subsequently emitting a powerful wave from his mouth that obliterated everything in its trajectory, only to be met by Naruto's barriers. He made another attempt, but the outcome remained unchanged. Just as he was preparing for a third try, he lost sight of Naruto, and his perspective began to shift, ultimately resulting in a collision with the ground. This leaves only one remaining. Naruto observed intently as he focused on a burning black dot that was steadily approaching, growing larger with each passing moment. "Could you please inform me of Magneto's current location?" Naruto inquired of Sunspot, who had just returned from flight. Upon hearing Naruto's question, he experienced a surge of anger and embarrassment due to the apparent disregard, which only served to provoke his innate desire for control. "Perhaps you could attempt to extract the information from me." Naruto regarded him with a look of disdain, yet proceeded to prepare for an attack. "Thank you very much." Sunspot charged at Naruto, who remained calm and composed, despite his heart racing with anger and anxiety as he attempted to comprehend how the situation had deteriorated so rapidly. He and his associates received a distress call indicating that their network had been compromised. Before they could fully comprehend the situation, another call informed them of a break-in at their temporary hideout. Upon their arrival, they discovered that the individual identified as Naruto had already taken control of the entire location. Upon regaining consciousness, he discovered that the 2 individuals accompanying him were resting, while the men observing him appeared disinterested. He anticipated that the leader would arrive before this individual could overpower him. "Is Magneto en route?" Naruto's inquiry captured Sunspot's attention, yet the young man chose to remain silent, prompting Naruto to simply shrug in response. "I have reservations about him allowing such a substantial workforce to be captured. Is he aware of our upcoming actions?" Da Costa shook his head, his body radiating determination to restrain him for as long as possible. He launched black-dotted yellow blasts at Naruto, who remained composed in the face of the assault. With minimal movements, he deftly dodged the attacks and used his hand to deflect the final fiery projectile, allowing it to merge with the backdrop of explosive sounds. Had he the capacity, Da Costa would have experienced a moment of exasperation at the indifference directed towards him. However, This only served to diminish his self-esteem, further fueling his anger and intensifying the flames around him. As he clasped his hands together, a significant surge of swirling solar energy amassed and propelled towards Naruto. To his surprise, Naruto vanished from view, only to be met with a sudden, jarring pain in his jaw, akin to being struck by an unseen force. He was telekinetically suspended midair, with Naruto materializing in front of him like a specter. At that moment, he gained clarity. They were unable to succeed. His heart, which had been racing in anticipation of despair, suddenly eased in relief upon hearing the voice of his leader. I kindly request that you allow him some space, enabling us to engage in a constructive conversation. Naruto's perspective. I observed the mutant pariah as he gradually descended, eventually halting a few meters from my position. A gesture from me caused Sunspot to plummet to the ground, creating an extensive trench in the process. I approached him until I was within arm's reach before coming to a halt. Please cease your current efforts. Could you please clarify what my objective is? He inquired in a detached tone that reflected his straightforward demeanor. The Statue of Liberty, the city's power supply, and the drainage system. This individual was attempting to create significant disorder within the city, leading to internal conflict among its residents. Initially, the national symbol was considered, but it did not hold any significance for me, so it was dismissed. His objective was to eliminate all city lines and energy stations, resulting in New York being engulfed in continuous darkness. The most concerning aspect was the total devastation of the city's drainage system, which would lead to the contamination of the reservoir by mixing city waste with it, affecting all natural bodies of water both within and around the city. This individual sought to undermine New York by regressing it several months compared to the rest of the world. The implications of this situation will likely deter individuals from residing in the city, discourage foreign investment, and result in significant financial setbacks for major industries located within the area. An intricate strategy that had an impact on all individuals, regardless of their economic status. I sensed the tremors from the magnetic waves emanating from him, yet I kept my expression neutral and awaited his command to retreat. What is it that leads you to believe I should consider your advice and withdraw? He ultimately inquired after having engaged me in a staring contest moments earlier. I am making this request respectfully. I am optimistic that he can be engaged in a constructive dialogue. If he demonstrates the same stubbornness he exhibited in the earlier days of X-Men comics, I will have to take decisive action. His position as a leader of the mutant community does not preclude others from assuming similar roles. Are we exhibiting a sense of arrogance? The magnetic pull intensified around me, causing the metals beneath the ground to rattle in response to Magneto's abilities. Regrettably, you do not possess the requisite authority to issue directives to me. Stubborn individuals. I diminished in size and found myself a distance from the location where I had been suspended, which had come under assault by piercing metallic entities. A lightning bolt manifested in my hands, which I propelled towards him with a sonic boom, compelling him to shape a metal block for defense. I directed an energy blast towards him and observed as it penetrated the already compromised defense, only to collide with the magnetic field barrier that he had in place. I turned my head towards their hideout as I noticed the human signatures within it diminishing rapidly, only to discover that they had a teleporter actively facilitating their evacuation. Is it truly wise to be unfocused while engaging with me? Without assessing the approaching threat, I enveloped my hands in a repelling field and struck it away. I certainly do. His capability should genuinely be regarded as a significant concern for the environment. The magnetic field surrounding him abruptly intensified, exhibiting a significant attracting force that drew all nearby metallic materials towards him, including those with minimal magnetic properties, which appeared to defy gravity. Observing the escalating damage resulting from a straightforward use of his abilities, I approached him with the intention of containing the situation within a controlled area to mitigate further structural harm. I navigated through all the obstacles he presented in an attempt to hinder my progress until I approached him and passed through the barrier he established. Upon making contact with his magnetic shield, he was propelled towards the ground, resulting in a small mushroom cloud. What is the status? Are you considering the option to step back at this moment? I inquired in a neutral tone while maintaining eye contact, which I believe may have heightened his agitation slightly. Indifferent. He exerted himself to rise from the ground and initiated his series of attacks. Rather than simply throwing objects at me, he began to deconstruct and reconfigure them, ultimately forming a metallic spider web dome that enveloped us within an expansive area of over 100 meters. I navigated through them, phasing past some and engaging others, as I advanced towards Magneto, who was striving to create more distance between us. I brought my hands together in a clap that generated a powerful sonic wave, impacting Magneto. He quickly regained his composure, but I was already advancing with a concentrated ball of energy at my fingertips, which enveloped his magnetic barrier, ultimately shattering it after a brief stalemate. Magneto appeared increasingly distressed, displaying surprise, shock, and apprehension as he finally grasped the situation at hand. This variant of him, while classified as an Omega-level mutant, did not exhibit the capabilities of his more powerful counterpart. He likely assumed that since he could outmaneuver the Avengers, he would be able to achieve the same result with me. How naively misguided. Despite the challenges, he persevered, and even now, I could sense the ground beneath me vibrating subtly as his desperation tested the boundaries of his restraint. He released 4 metal columns that enclosed me from all directions, and just as I was about to question his judgment, the 4 metal blocks began to generate significant magnetic forces intended to compress me at the center. Even without utilizing my abilities, my physical body alone was capable of withstanding forces several times greater than this. I seamlessly transitioned through the situation, reducing my size to that of an ant, causing Magneto to lose sight of me. I then resized behind him and employed my own electromagnetic manipulation to penetrate his magnetic field, successfully seizing his cape. You are familiar with the process, as am I. A crater formed around him as a result of my strike, and had it not been for his swift response in re-establishing another protective barrier, the outcome could have been different. I took hold of his helmet and raised him to my eye level, observing the brief, involuntary tremor that coursed through his body. This entire situation could have been prevented with a straightforward discussion. I removed the helmet to examine his face, which appeared middle-aged, contrasting with the late 60s visage I had anticipated. Exceptional physical condition. It is beneficial to be informed. Do you believe you have achieved a victory? He regarded me with clarity and inquired. I offered him a brief smile before directing my attention to the approaching helicopters from various news channels and the police force. During a moment of distraction, an individual approached Magneto from behind and seized him to initiate a teleportation. However, Magneto's eyes rolled back, and he collapsed, rendered unconscious. Is this your transportation for the getaway? I inquired of the surprised mastermind, who had anticipated utilizing a literal get-out-of-jail wildcard, unaware that I had been observing his chauffeur, who has been speculating from a distance of 2 kilometers since the outset. I experience occasional instances of stage fright, so we will be making our exit backstage prior to their arrival. A single mental command from me effectively penetrated his formidable mental defenses, inducing sleep in him just as it had with his teleporting subordinate, and we all vanished. The end. Thank you for watching this amazing video. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.